Hi everybody, this is Charlize Nocti Girl here to talk about cameras, lenses, accessories, and photography in general. Thanks to the recent resurgence in film photography, rangefinder cameras are making a serious comeback, especially the Leica M-series cameras. But before you panic from FOMO and drop a few G's on the very expensive rangefinder, you should probably know what you're getting yourself into. There are some major differences between a rangefinder and a single lens reflex or SLR camera. In this video, I will share the pros and cons of each and major differences so you can make the right choice that suits your needs. So, what is a rangefinder camera? A rangefinder is a camera that uses a split image range-finding focusing mechanism that allows the photographer to measure the subject distance to obtain focus. When looking through the rangefinder, two images of the same subject can be seen, and focus is obtained by turning the focusing ring and lining up the split images. Earlier models had separate viewfinder and rangefinder windows. The photographer would have to figure out focus by looking through the rangefinder, transferring the value to the lens focus ring, look through the viewfinder and compose the shot, before she could actually take the shot. Thankfully, later designs incorporated the rangefinder into the viewfinder and simplified the focusing process. Now, there are quite a few benefits in shooting with a rangefinder camera, though it might be more difficult to learn for new photographers. Rangefinder cameras are compact and lightweight because they don't have the pentaprism and mirror that SLR cameras have. With that said, they're usually also quieter and less subject to vibration during operation because they have fewer moving parts during an exposure. Rangefinder cameras are known for their superb image quality because their lenses can be designed without needing to worry about the rear elements getting hit by the mirror. Also due to this, their lenses are much smaller, sharper, and have less distortion than SLR lenses because their rear elements can come closer to the image plane. The viewfinder on these cameras are larger than the scene, giving you a greater field of view and allowing you to anticipate your subject entering or exiting the frame. Their viewfinder also never blacks out, as opposed to SLR cameras when their mirrors flip up during an exposure. This allows the photographer to keep her eye on her scene or subject the entire time an exposure is being made, especially when making long exposures. Lastly, you won't get shutter lag with a rangefinder camera because no mirror needs to get out of the way before the shutter can open. Despite all these benefits, there are still quite a few disadvantages that might deter a photographer from wanting to use a rangefinder camera. The first and most obvious reason is an inherent defect called parallax. Because the viewfinder is in a different position than the lens that exposes the negative for the sensor, the camera prevents you from seeing exactly what the lens sees. The closer the subject is to the camera, the more evident the parallax. Quality rangefinder cameras such as Leica correct to some extent for parallax, but they're never a good choice for close-up work. Most of the time, they won't let you focus closer than 2 to 3 feet anyway. Also, because you can't see through the lens, you won't see any hint of depth of field because everything in the viewfinder is in focus. You can only focus on the spot in the center of the image, so you have to focus then compose. If your lens happens to be too big, it might even block part of your viewfinder. Most rangefinder lenses are prime lenses that require manual focusing, and if you happen to have a lens wider than generally 24mm or 28mm for Leica, you will need an external viewfinder to help you compose your shot. Lastly, telephoto lenses are inherently more difficult to focus with rangefinder cameras. So if you shoot a lot of telephoto work, rangefinder cameras might not be for you. Now let's talk about SLR cameras. An SLR or a single lens reflex camera has a mirror and pentaprism system that lets the photographer see through the taking lens to focus the scene and compose it at the same time. When seeing through the viewfinder, light coming through the camera lens is reflected by a mirror up to a viewing screen, then travels to a 5-sided pentaprism that turns the inverted image around so it appears the correct way to the eye. When the shutter is released, the mirror first swings up, letting light reach the shutter and film or sensor at the back of the camera. That is why the image produced is the same as the image viewed through the lens. There are many advantages in shooting SLR cameras. That's why it became the predominant choice for many professional photographers in the past few decades. The first and most obvious reason is the ability to capture what the lens and you, the photographer, sees. The photographer is able to see the exact composition, framing, point of view, perspective, and even depth of field before an exposure is taken. With that said, SLR cameras also work well with all types of lenses, from macro to wide angle to super telephoto. Autofocus is quite prevalent with this type of camera, and you're able to focus anywhere in the frame. Zoom lenses are also way more common with the SLR system, giving photographers the versatility they need. Just like the Rangefinder camera, SLR cameras also have a few disadvantages. They're usually heavier and larger due to the additional parts required to make their internal mechanism work. The additional components and moving parts make them more susceptible to repair. Since every shot requires the mirror to flip up, it makes a loud clack during exposure, which could be quite distracting. Also, there's a slight shutter lag with the SLR system, as the mirror needs to get out of the way before the shutter can open, and it momentarily blacks out the viewing image, which could cause the photographer to miss a decisive moment. Optics for SLR cameras can be inferior to their rangefinder counterparts, as they're designed for convenience in autofocusing. This is most apparent in wide-angle lenses, which can result in softer and more distorted images, especially in the corners. Lastly, the motion of the mirror and shutter may cause vibrations that can make the camera more difficult to hold steady, especially at slower shutter speeds. Okay, I know that was a lot of information, but I hope this was helpful for you to decide on the system that works for you. Usually, I tell field photographers that rangefinder cameras are more suitable for nature, landscape, travel photography, street photography, or fine art. Basically anything that holds reasonably still unless you've mastered zone focusing, which I'll discuss in another episode. SLR cameras are generally better suited for fast-moving scenes like action, sports, events, telephoto, or macro photography. So what's your preference and why? Leave me a comment down below. Alrighty, you've been knocked up today and I'm really knocked out. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!